What's up guys, Cal here, and with World of Warcraft over 11 years old now, and my main character also being a hunter, I want to take a look at 10 hunter changes from vanilla WoW to now. Now the first move we're looking at is a move that's still in the game today, but has been majorly changed from its vanilla form, and that's Disengage. We all know Disengage today is the move that a hunter would use to fly 20 yards back from their target to keep their distance, but in vanilla, it didn't do that at all. In fact, what it did do is if you had aggro on an NPC, you'd use it, it would do some glimmering animation, and then your threat would be reduced from the target. Next we have Hunter Traps. Hunters have had changes for their traps through the years, from getting Snake Trap in Burning Crusade to Immolation Trap completely being removed from the game. Even hunters being able to launch their traps at the target. The biggest change though to them was that in vanilla, you couldn't place your traps in combat, so the old-fashioned way to do it was to lay the trap before you enter combat, and then kite the enemy over it. Now we have a feature that probably all hunters who have played WoW from the beginning remember, and that's feeding your pet. Your pet would have a mood bar that would go from unhappy, where your pet does 75% damage, to content, where your pet does 100% damage, to happy, where your pet does 125% damage. The way to get this happiness level up would be to feed your pet whatever its diet was, and if your pet stayed unhappy for too long, it would actually become hostile and start attacking you. You can actually feed your pet in WoW today, but it just doesn't do anything. The fourth one is an ability called Eyes of the Beast, which was more of a fun ability that hunters had. It allowed hunters to take control of their pet, and they could run as far as they wanted, as long as they stayed in the 50,000 yard distance. It was ultimately removed with the release of Cataclysm though. Hunters can track almost everything in World of Warcraft. Humanoids, beasts, stealth targets, demons, dragonkin elementals, undead, and even giants. Now in today's WoW, you can actually track all those things at the same time. But in early WoW, you can only track one thing at a time. The sixth one is probably the biggest change that hunters have had, and you may have already noticed it through watching this video, and that's that hunters used to have a minimum range and also wielded melee weapons. A hunter's melee weapon obviously did less damage than their bow. This left them at a great disadvantage in PvP, as players could simply run up to a hunter, no matter the class, except another hunter of course, and deal massive damage, while they couldn't do the same. And they weren't very mobile either, and you couldn't get away from their target easily. Some classes, if perfected, could stay in a hunter's 4 to 7 yard range, where the hunter could do absolutely nothing to hurt them and relied on their pet to do most of the damage. Along with the cookie cutter talent trees, hunters had something else that they had to train which costed extra gold, and that was their pet. Every few levels your pet gained, and yeah, your pet gained levels back then, you would have to go to the pet trainer and learn new abilities from. Your pet would gather training points every level he got, and would gain even more every loyalty level he got, and even after buying the skills with in-game currency, you had to spend these training points which took extra time to get for your pet to actually learn that ability. This one is actually probably just as big of a change as the last one, and that's that hunters used to have mana. All their abilities costed mana, and when they ran out of it, like most classes, were fairly defenseless. In Burning Crusade, however, hunters were given an ability called Aspect of the Viper, which greatly increased their mana regen while in combat, but reduced the damage they did by 50%. This was however removed in Cataclysm, along with hunters' mana pools, which was replaced with Focus. Earlier I talked about a few changes that were major for hunters. Now this one might beat them all out because there was a time where hunters used to have to buy and carry ammo for their bows and guns with them. If you ran out of ammo, then you just had to resort to using melee. Now the last one is the aspects that hunters have had. The two biggest aspects in the game that we know of that have been in the game since the beginning with very little change are Aspect of the Cheetah and Aspect of the Pack, which increase your movement speed and increases your party's movement speed by 30% respectively. And then you would get days if you were hurt, unless today you had the glyph of Aspect of the Cheetah, which stopped that from happening, whatever. Another aspect that hunters had in vanilla was Aspect of the Beast, which allowed them to be untrackable to classes who could track. In Wrath of the Lich King, it was randomly changed to increase your melee damage and your pet's melee damage by 10%. It was then removed in Cataclysm, but brought back in Mist of Pandaria as a minor glyph, allowing them to be untrackable again. The other big one was Aspect of the Hawk, which increased their attack power. and it stayed with Hunters from Vanilla all the way to Warlords of Draenor, where it was later removed. Hunters also had aspect of the Monkey, which increased their dodge, but was later removed with their release of Cataclysm. Then Hunters were given aspect of the Dragonhawk and Wrath of the Lich King, and it was pretty much a merge between aspect of the Hawk and aspect of the Monkey. It was also removed in Cataclysm, and then aspect of the Wild, which was later added, and it gave your raid, it was a raid-wide nature resistance buff, and was later removed when resistances were removed. Aspect of the Viper was added in Burning Crusade, and as said before, it gave hunters mana regen while in combat, but decreased their damage by 50%. It was later removed in Cataclysm when they removed hunters' mana and changed it to focus. Aspect of the Fox was an aspect that didn't last very long with hunters. It was added in Cataclysm and allowed you to cast both Steady Shot and Cobra Shot while moving, and gave you a little bit of focus back when you were struck by a melee attack. It was re-added for a short bit in Warlords of Draenor as a raid-wide cooldown that allowed everyone to cast while moving for 6 seconds. And last is an aspect that was added in the game in Warlords of Draenor, and that's aspect of the Ironhawk, which is a talent and passively gave you a 10% damage reduction. So that's 10 changes that hunters have gone through since early World of Warcraft. I'm thinking of doing more videos like this where it's 10 facts instead of 5, which I've done before. I'm also thinking of doing more classes in the future, besides just the hunter. So you can let me know if any classes I should do in the comments below. You can like this video, you can share it, you can follow me on Twitter, you can do all that stuff. I'll see you in the next video.